Let's talk about the Kraken. This ship was introduced. You know what? Before we get into the super detailed talks, let's look at the trailer. The Kraken trailer is actually one of my favorites. Not for anything in the actual ship part of the trailer, purely for the first like 20 seconds. One of the most satisfying camera draws in all of Star Citizen. Similar to the Star Engine trailer, this is one of those pullbacks that I really, really want to try and replicate somehow, someday in game. Yeah, this is good times. I freaking love this. This is old Lorville. Look how small it looks. This is like pure Star Citizen, you know? That is the whole idea, is you're just going from a city and you're flying out into space, and I feel like they could do so many more videos like this.
At least the crack can.
The crack can? This also hits a vibe. Like, this is what a lot of people want to do with all their time, you know, just chill out there in the black, mining a rock away in peace until, you know, this.
You can stop right there.
Right there.
His ass.
You can stop right there.
Or we kill you. I'm happy either way.
Not a care.
The time has come for something new. Something to change the game.
So it's like a spacecraft carrier, basically.
When seeking fortunes at the fringes of civilization, you need someone you can trust. In this age of uncertainty, it's time to take back your strength. It's time
Yikes,
to
dude.
release the Kraken. Drake Interplanetary.
See, but like these are the commercials though that make people be like, okay, but what about death? You know, like these people just getting wiped out. This dude literally
Your strength.
getting shot. Shields up, dead.
It's time to release the Kraken. Drake Interplanetary. We got your back.
We got your back. Honestly, that must be some valuable rock. Imagine deploying a Kraken to protect a prospector. Mining unobtainium must be. So it's a pretty freaking large ship. We don't even have to go over the details here. They're going to cover it all here. This is kind of going to be about the privateer, which is not the original one, but you'll still get kind of the idea of what the ship is about. The privateer is more focused on being like the human version of the Banu Merchantman. The original one is essentially, as you just saw, a spacecraft carrier, an attack carrier. It's got large capital class components. It's got a couple size 8. It's got one size 8 man turret, 4 size 6 man turrets, and 4 size 5 remote turrets. Dragonfly Bay, space for 6 vehicles or more if they're smaller. You got 2 hangars as well for ships in there, escape pods. Crew of 10, cargo of 3,792 SCU. This thing's a freaking flying fortress, and it lives in another class. This along with ships like the Pioneer are just in another class, another type of Star Citizen that we have no fucking insight into right now. Okay, we have minimal insight, but I think it should be stressed that not only are we not playing Star Citizen for us right now, we're not even getting close to Star Citizen for ships like this. The Orion, the Endeavor, the Pioneer. The Pioneer, we're kind of getting an idea because of the base building, but like these ships operate just in a different freaking realm of what we're doing, and they have to create that gameplay on top of all the other gameplay they have to make for what we're doing currently. So, I mean, yeah, it's going to be here soon, and I'm sure it'll transport ships. But as far as like, will the game have a lot of demand for a ship like this by the end of next year, or by the beginning of 2027, whenever this thing comes out? Who knows? Probably depends on how Squadron 42 is doing by that point. But let's take a look at the details surrounding at least the privateer and what the heck this thing's about.
It's the Kraken privateer. So this is not just a normal Kraken.
So what is it then? It's a variant of the Kraken, and it's kind of like a mobile space station where you can have little shops and you can sell stuff to people. So in order to fit those shops in, you kind of take out a bunch of the cargo space.
So let's have a look at how on earth we do that internally. So this is a cutaway of the base Kraken. So this is the regular Kraken that we unveiled last year. You've got your huge amount of cargo, extra fuel, you've got your Dragonfly Bay. And then this is a close-up of that. So the Kraken privateer is
I feel like you gotta clap for a cross section, right? That's the thing.
full variant. It is not a modular swap because of the internal geometry changes. This next transition will make it look like it is a very simple swap, but trust me, there's a huge amount of interior changes that go on in here. So we swap out the main cargo bay for 8 shops, and then the Dragonfly Bay for 2 more shops, and then there's extra habitation modules put in there. So we're going to look at some of the actual...
Shops. This is the kind of thing that won't come until they get player shops done with base building. Clearly.
Pretty images for this.
Yeah, so let's take a look at some of the visuals.
Ooh, pretty.
So this is the main marketplace, the public market, and this is a sort of idea of it sort of converted. So you can see there the modular shops. We've even stuck in a schmaltz beer that's just hanging above the hanger there, just for the thirsty drinkers. But
Is that how we transport? Dude, wait, he's talking about this right here. Can you imagine if we were transporting like 16 SCU boxes of beer? Oh my gosh, wait, guys. What's going on here? That full screen view is completely messed up. I am sorry. I don't even know how long I was like that. So he was talking about this right here. 16 SCU canisters of beer, just flying them from space station to space station.
kind of gives you just a good flavor of what it might be like in there. And you can kind of see right at the back where you can see the sort of Kraken logo. Just above there, there's a it's kind of like the captain of the ship. It's the crow's nest. So if you're the owner of the ship, you know you can be looking out over your over the people, over the marketplace. Yeah. So I think it'd be pretty cool.
Freaking nuts, man. This is definitely one of the concepts that I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, they're gonna have to make it so that NPCs can be coming on board and buying stuff. Or else this ship is going to be so boring. Unless you can guarantee people will always be swinging by to buy stuff, but this is literally a player shop in space. Like, you're going to have to be getting some good crafters to sell you some good stuff and get a reputation. And it's just like, it feels kind of like a true endgame ship. You can't just hop into a Kraken and start selling stuff. Unless the NPCs are picking up the slack, you kind of got to make a network so people know who you are.
Said before, it's going to replace the main cargo hold, and you're going to get 8 shops. It kind of uses the modularity system that we have for the space stations, but they're going to be smaller than those, so it's not going to be the exact same shops. You're going to be able to hire NPC crew to run the shops, and it's a kind of a public space, so you got to be careful with what you're stocking and selling there.
No stuff.
Yikes. Uh-oh. That, guys, that's going to come back up for sure.
Widow in good locations. However,
Speaking of which, so this section here is where the Dragonfly bays were, but this has been refitted. So this is the private market, and there's two shops in here essentially. I really wanted to pack it out with more shops, but it's, you know, it was going to sort of like over
turn it into a shopping mall.
yeah, basically. And we also need space for sort of AI and player navigation, but it gives you an idea of maybe the slightly seedier vibe if you want to go that direction with your ship.
So this
Don't
is
say
the
anything
private
about
market. It's
AI
behind
crew
closed
again.
doors, so it requires security access from the ship's captain to get in here. Places the Dragonfly bays. There's only 2 shops, and because it's invite only, this area does not have to abide by the local restrictions because the local security can't get in here. So if you've got some more illicit wares, then you can do them in here and make a bit more profit that way.
You could also do perfectly legal stuff up here.
If you want, it's just giving you the choice.
Boo.
And this is
Hey, what's up,
the
Brig?
final fitted out area. So in the original Kraken, this is sort of large storage tanks, but they've been ripped out, replaced with these extra habs. So it should be a pretty cool sort of communal area. And you know, screens, hopefully maybe some live stats of the marketplace. So you can be sitting there having a beer, chatting to your friends, and just sort of see what's going on in the rest of the ship.
You know what these are going to be make for? These are going to be great mission levels. Like when they need to host things like the 890 jump boarding mission, but obviously more advanced and in a different way sometime in the future. These ships are going to be great for it.
Yep, there's 10 extra hubs, there's 10 shops. Each NPC needs somewhere to live on board, and we didn't want them taken away from the existing hubs that are on board the ship.
What
because
NPC?
those are there for essentially the people that are flying their ships to the station and staying there.
Then what are these
Great
for?
deal more to say about that.
Yeah.
Dude, they're not saying that's for NPCs that work on the ship, right? I'm not misreading this, yeah?
Yep, there's 10 extra hubs, there's 10 shops. Each NPC needs somewhere to live on board.
Oh my that is what they're saying. Okay, oh boy. Maybe then the NPCs would not be like what you would expect from normal AI crew. These would just be static NPCs that stand in a place behind a shop desk in your Kraken. Bro, this concept is... I did not start this video realizing how iffy this concept sounded with the current version of Star Citizen 1.0. This doesn't... I don't think... Yeah, I'm actually... I do agree with what PK is saying. I think the regular Kraken, they'll probably be able to get. I don't think this ship can come out before 1.0. I don't know. We'll see how involved they seem to want these shopkeepers to be, but they're going to have to reconcept the heck out of this.
We didn't want them taken away from the existing hubs that are on board the ship, because those are there for essentially the people that are flying their ships to the station and staying there. Not a great deal more to say about that.
Yeah. Here's a little schematic of like what it's going to look like, the setup. You've got your private shops up top with their own little storage below them. And then you've got the 8 shops in the main cargo bay with the secondary cargo bay being the storage for those shops.
And I am now going to try and explain shopping in 60 seconds whilst not being Tony Zurek.
Tony could never do that in 60 seconds. Come on.
So, the basic process for this is you have your Kraken privateer. The shops are modular, as you mentioned. Think converted cargo container crates that have shops built into them. The Kraken will come with a default generic selection. If you want to change them down the line, feel free. So you pick your shop archetype. Like I'm going to pick my clothing shop archetype. I put it in shop 1 slot. I hire Paul, my shopkeeper, to run that shop. Pay him 1 UEC a day to do that.
Okay, see, so in the way they're talking about that, like I could see them having just almost like an interactive sprite of an NPC that loads into the shop and just kind of acts as sort of like what the shopkeepers are in game right now. Not really doing anything, not moving around, just standing behind the desk, being a presence. I could see that. But still the idea of hosting shops is like, this is going to depend a hell of a lot on the player market, at least as far as player to player interactions go. Are they going to be able to get NPCs to come visit you on the ship and buy your stuff? I don't know.
Cheapskate.
I buy 500 Big Benny's hats, which takes up so many SEU of space, and I put it in Shop 1's cargo grid. So each shop has its own cargo grid. You can't pull them all together and have one shop selling a million things. They're all split up. When that shop's cargo grid is empty, you need to go replenish it. You set your profit margins on them, plus or minus, if you really want to do that. And then hopefully make some profit. And for those merchantman owners out there, the merchantman is going to work in essentially the same way. They have shops, you buy stock, the stock is held in the cargo grid along with shared just cargo space, and the shops use that. Feel free to talk to Tony about any of this afterwards.
Oh, geez, that's a huge reduction in cargo from changing it out for the shops. Why do we need NPCs again? We don't. Honestly, I think they'd be better off without them. Yeah, it doesn't seem like you need NPCs. They're probably going to reconcept this and just change it so that there's not, these shops are just kiosks, and then your job is to make sure the kiosks stay what's it called? Stocked up. Yeah, this would be crazy with NPCs. Unless they were just, standing behind the counter like we have now. But even then, that's just a lot to load in for a spaceship. Is this last year's? No, dude, this is 2019. This is an old video. Which is why the Kraken privateer is likely going to undergo some changes there. Oh my God, the people who bought this ship in 2019 are going to be so freaking pissed. It's going to be... Oh, boy.
So yeah, there's a quick, very high-level overview of the two variants of the Kraken. Privateer has the 10 shops. It still has 768 SEU of cargo, which is a not insignificant amount of cargo.
Yeah, that's a lot of chocolate.
It does use the Dragonfly bays, so we think of it as like the mobile lawful space station, or less lawful, if that's your thing. The regular Kraken has 3,792 SEU of cargo, which is a lot of cargo. So that's slightly less than a whole sea. And it has Dragonfly bays, and we think of that one as sort of the mobile combat outpost. So if you want to be a Kraken owner, you've got sort of two paths to go down there. So that's the
freaking almost as much storage as the whole sea, and it's inside the ship. The Kraken, the normal Kraken, could make so much money just from cargo hauling with some support ships. Actually, that would make for a great event. The one that Tyrus does, where we get the boxes and ship them out to different places. You could do that on the scale of like hundreds of SCUs with the Kraken. You could just have like, I don't know, a couple whole A's, nomads, rafts. I don't know if the raft would fit on a Kraken, but you could go and park out in space and then use those ships to fly to different planets and come back to the Kraken as your home base. Actually, why I think that they are going to do that at some point is if you go back to the first introduction, I'm going to hurt you. This is going to hurt. I know it hurts me. I'm also a little weird though. I'm going to go back to the first introduction of the quantum economy.
That's enough cargo to fill my Kraken.
You don't say. Enough cargo to fill your Kraken. So you go back to where they were simulating the universe, and they actually were using Krakens as their pirate bases out in space.
Let's go ahead and take a look at Hurston, the coolers and quantum drives.
Check this out. This is where they're operating out of, you guys. Right.
As you're going to see throughout this little deep dive we're doing, they love using the Kraken. But I think that would be really cool as a realistic point of interest in the game.
The future. Let's talk about a bit more in the future.
Okay, so that's it there. Moving on from that, they were talking a little bit about how they would get around to making the Kraken a few years ago, and you'll hear some familiar names in here. I know somebody was talking about the Perseus earlier. You're going to hear some familiar names in here, and it will kind of show you that they're still following the path that they lay out in this video, at least to some extent. Some of the stuff slipped a little bit, but listen in.
Backlog of ships. And at what point in the game can we expect larger ships such as the Kraken, Polaris, and Perseus? Now, this one's a when question. But let's go with the core here. How are we expecting to work through this backlog?
Cool. I'll start, and then others can chime in if they want. So the last year or so, we've been really sort of improving and just making the pipeline work better. Mark and Corey have done a great job revitalizing all the documentation that sort of I wrote years ago and we've just lived with. But because I've done more and more leadership and directorship, I've not been so hands-on with things. So they've taken that over and built the pipeline. The last 3 ships we've released have gone through sort of that new pipeline, and things have mostly gone smoother. Still doing some tweaks as we go. But ultimately, at the end of the day, big ships need a lot of resources to make them. And where we want to get to is a place where we're still delivering the same amount of content as we do now a year, as well as 1 to 2 capitals a year on top of that, and supporting all the other teams like we do. And at the end of the day, that just needs more people.
You want to get to the point of delivering 1 to 2 capitals a ship.
Yes.
You're not saying that we are at that point, right?
We're not at that point yet. We're building to that point. So the last...
Seems like we're kind of at that point now, right? We got the Polaris last year. I know, so we'll say the Idris doesn't count, but we did get the Idris this year. Probably going to get the Perseus and the Ironclad by the end of this year too. So those, you could say those are the 2 for this year. Looks like they might be aiming for... I don't know, man. I don't know if they're starting the Kraken right now. It's in pre-production. It's not even starting yet. The Kraken's going to be a 2027 release. So I don't see any of the obvious capital ships, but they did say they were going to move on to the Galaxy after the Perseus. So who knows?
A few months we've been
I'm not sure about the Ironclad either.
Expand the team, which people have probably seen with the introduction of the Montreal vehicle team. And we're also looking for more...
the Pioneer.
So if people are watching...
Yeah, and any
good leads.
Yeah, any lead artists watching.
To replace Corey.
Yeah, give us a shout.
A little plug.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. A lot of these shows do serve multiple purposes, and they're absolutely, from the conversations that I have to have with the talent acquisition team every single week, they're definitely a hiring tool.
Run the ads and basically just run
This is the ad.
Our page.
Yeah, okay. You're presenting to these people who it would be that they're working with. So and we're showing them.
It's cool.
Are you sure you want us on here then?
It's too late now.
Ironclad next year. Ironclad next year. It could be a thing. The jury's out on the Ironclad, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, they could take their time and do it next year. It'd probably make more sense. Perseus at the end of this year, let that carry Invictus, or let that carry IAE and do Ironclad next year, or Invictus week maybe. So here is one of the last times we've seen the Kraken recently. As I said, they love to tease it. So here's a really little, completely random teaser that they gave at CitizenCon last year. Like literally there was no reason whatsoever to do this other than hype. So this one makes sense because like this ship was literally getting delivered during that time. But then CIG can't quite help themselves. Gotta go a bit further. And it works every time. Look at all the smiles. Look at all the smiles. We're so happy. So that's the last time we saw it. And since then, mostly silence until last week, when the monthly report says, lastly, for ships, the Drake Kraken has entered pre-production, with the team identifying areas from the original concept that need further attention to bring to modern standards. Full production will begin later this year. This is undoubtedly going to be an 18-month ship. So the fact that they're not even entering full production at this point, it's going to be a 2027 kind of release. But that's mostly what we know about the Kraken. We've also seen it one time in engine, well, in game. I think it was, I want to say I-8E, maybe 2018. They just had like the model sitting out on the Lorville landing area. I did see, I think it was, Trishbone did a video on the Kraken. I actually haven't seen this yet, but Trishbone has a lot of talent. He's been on the podcast to talk about some of the ships that might be coming up this year. I would check out the channel if you haven't. It's all really, really high quality, and it's good entertainment. But that's really what we know about the Kraken so far. You can put it out of your mind for a while. We'll be touching back on the progress on it as it goes, but in terms of getting into game, which is what most people care about, it's going to be a long time.